Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I love these author panels. There's just so many rich conversations that happen as we learn about their author journeys and all the work that went into creating a book and making sure it gets marketed to the right person. So, without further delay, let me introduce this week's guests. Many entrepreneurial authors feel uncomfortable promoting themselves. They worry about sounding salesy. They do not want to overwhelm their audience. And for some, the idea of repeatedly talking about their book feels exhausting or even inauthentic. So they stay quiet. But the challenge is this: if the people do not know about your book, they cannot benefit from it. The good news is that promotion doesn't have to feel pushy. One of the easiest ways to market your book is to do it alongside other authors. When authors collaborate, share audiences, and support each other's visibility, promotion starts to feel more like a community and less like self promotion. That's one of the reasons I created the Kindle Flash Sale. It brings together entrepreneurial authors who cross promote each other's books during a coordinated campaign, helping everyone expand their reach, build momentum, and connect with new readers. If promoting your book feels uncomfortable, or if you would rather market your book as part of a collaborative community instead of trying to do it all alone, learn more about the next Kindle Flash Sale at kindleflashsale.com. And now, let's meet some of the authors who participated in the last Kindle Flash Sale. With me today, I have Bill Miller, who wrote The Rookie CEO, You Can't Make This Stuff Up. Learn how 9 rookie CEOs got there, executed, created their stories, and led. A leadership book that shares real stories from first-time CEOs and the lessons they learned while stepping into the top role, making decisions under pressure, and leading through uncertainty. Dr. Kate Vawter wrote Better Boss Blueprint: How Great Managers Build Trust, Inspire Loyalty, and Deliver Results, a practical management guide that helps leaders strengthen trust, improve team relationships, and create the conditions for better performance and loyalty. And Judi Lawrence, who wrote Your Passport to Apostille: 116 Tips to Build a Thriving Business as an Apostille Agent, a specialized business guide that helps notaries and entrepreneurs understand apostille work, build confidence, and grow a profitable service-based business. Bill, I'm so glad you're here. Give us a little sense of who you wrote your book for. Who is the ideal reader? And welcome.
It's great to be here, Robbie. Uh, my books are in the Rookie CEO is my first book, is really targeted at first time CEOs, and I mean that covers founders who become CEOs, managers who move up the ranks to become directors, VPs, CXOs, and then a CEO. But the first time in that seat, when you own everything rather than just a business function, the world changes. And now you go to bed at night or drive home or whatever, you're in the shower and you worry about how am I going to make payroll? How am I going to make decisions? How am I going to handle 27 priority ones? So the first book that I published here, The Rookie CEO, You Can't Make This Stuff Up, was, I mean, I lived it. The last 35 years, I've been in an executive position. I had the number two seat at the table for many years before I created my own companies. And what's really interesting is uh, it's a different mindset completely when you run a business. Now, uh, Dr. Kate's going to talk about managers. And so they're very complementary books because there's a lot of things that are very common between managers and leaders, but they don't, managers don't go to bed worrying about payroll. They worry about what they're functionally responsible for, but the trust and getting people to do things for you, those are all very common.
Mm.
And then Judy's book clearly is going to be running a business profitably. So they all have that in common. But my target market in the second book just expands on the first book. Some of the CEOs, they're all real CEOs. In the second book, what every CEO must know, names a lot of CEOs who gave me their story. And the first book, I didn't name the CEOs, but people who can go to my LinkedIn profile can find out who those CEOs were. They're all code names. I just didn't want to be sued by anybody. But I don't
Thanks,
give
Bill.
away. I don't want to give away anything proprietary. But the
Yeah.
whole goal of my books and my writing is, I'm a little bit older than most people, actually older than everybody here. And I have a lot of experience to share, is to shorten the learning cycle, accelerate the ability to lead without making mistakes that are
Thank you.
easily avoidable. And that's my focus of all my writing. And today I have an advisory service as well as a startup that I co-founded last year. So in the AI world, so I'll apply
So let's
everything
I'm gonna
that I
bring
learned.
let's bring Judi in. Judi, welcome to the show. You've got quite a few books under your belt. Some of
I
them you
just wrote
co-authored.
down I just wrote down what Bill said about making mistakes that are easily avoidable.
Yes.
That's a great line. I know it's not I don't mean that I mean a great line.
Yeah.
And I just think your book sounds wonderful.
Judi, tell us a little bit about who you had in mind for the book that you wrote. It's very niche.
Well, I had in mind a new person who had never done this kind of work before. And I had in mind that it was going to be a tip book, and it was going to be about 50 tips so that they could, avoid mistakes that are easily avoidable. And it didn't turn out like that. It turned out to be 116 tips, and it turned out that experienced people loved it and new people loved it. And I think it didn't turn out to be a tip book. I think it turned out to be a mini course. I honestly do. I honestly think that, when you go from in the beginning, like I said, we thought, 50, maybe 60 tips. But when you get to 116 tips, um, people think, wow, I keep this with me in my car and I keep this with me in my office. So where the book started out isn't where the book ended. Um,
And
my first,
are
oh,
these
go ahead.
folks already notaries, or is it people who are thinking about getting into the world of notaries and apostille?
Notaries, but they've not done apostille work, which is, for those who don't know, it's international work. It's work that I did jobs this morning from somebody in China and somebody in the country of Georgia. And so it takes you all of, I always say, I make everybody laugh because I say, today I was in 6 countries and I didn't use my passport and I didn't leave my office because it takes you all over the place, and
Right.
it's very interesting work. It's very different. But in answer to your question, um, you don't have to be a notary to do this work. There's no law that says you have to be a notary to do this work. However, since a lot of the work has to be notarized, it it's probably the best way
It's
if you
advantageous. All right.
if you're if you're a
Let
notary.
me bring Kate in, and then we'll dive into a few more questions. You all have so much value to add. Dr. Kate Vawter, let's hear from you.
Thanks. Thanks for having me today. I wrote Better Boss Blueprint for the folks who have been, excellent at their skill, at their craft, and so they have been tapped by leadership to move into a management role. I really wrote the book for the folks who were excellent at their job, and then congratulations, you're a manager now. And so many workplaces don't have any kind of training for how to be a successful people manager, how to consider the unique life experiences that staff members are bringing to the team. So I wrote it as a guide for the person who is moving into a people management role. So that they have somewhere to start. And since it's been published, so it's been in the world now for about 6 months. And another audience group that has emerged is folks who are in a workplace that doesn't feel great. They're like, is this right? Should I stay? Should I go? I don't know. So it turns out this book is actually a really great fit for folks who aren't sure if they're in the right place, because it paints the picture of what a healthy workplace and a healthy and productive supervisor can look like. And so if you're not 100% sure if where you're at is where you want to continue to be, this book paints a picture of what a healthy workplace and what a great supervisor can look like. One, so that you can grow into be a great supervisor, and two, that you deserve to have a great supervisor. So if you're not getting that support, you can learn what it would look like if you did.
Kate, I love unintended consequences like that.
Yeah. It's like, oh, great. Congratulations. I'm so glad you've decided to change your life path.
Yeah. You're like, I wrote this book and now people are making huge life decisions. But you're right. If you've always had kind of like grade C managers, not awful, just not super competent and supportive. And how would you know like that better was even possible? And then if you were to step into that role, your role models are all grade C managers before you. So it's really interesting to paint that picture. I want to follow up with you, Kate, because Bill and Judi have other books, and this is your first book. And as you said, it just came out this, earlier this year. Is it early this year, 2026?
December of 25.
December of 25. So really like 6 months,
Yeah.
months ago. What was the early reception like? You have a really healthy number of reviews, and I noticed that your review to global rating ratio is like kind of 99%. I was impressed by that. It tells me that you had a really strong launch focus. So tell me a little bit about how you got the book out into the world and how it was received.
Yeah, thanks for asking. The launch process, I have been rocking this business independently with the support of experts like yourself. So for my launch experience, I read your book on book launching and used that as my template of, okay, what's the structure? What are the pieces? So I made the list of all the folks I wanted to tell about it, and then reached out to them. I also used Publisher Rocket and a slew of YouTube videos. Went to YouTube University. So I did my best to learn as much as I could and give myself the grace that this is my first book. And anytime you do something for the first time, there's going to be a learning curve, and perfection is not the goal. The goal was get it out into the world and do as best I could with the resources I had. So I used your book launch strategies, which was immensely helpful to have the roadmap of do this. Cool. I can do those things.
Well, I love that. Listen, any content creator in the world hearing out in the world like this, that their book was useful. Thank you for sharing that. The book is Launch Your Book, an entrepreneur's guide to reviews that drive revenue, and folks can get the book and bonus content at booklaunchbrainstorm.com. You have 43 global ratings on your book, and 39 of those people took the time to write you a written review, which is really great. I mean, that's a great start. And I know being part of this Kindle Flash Sale, you got a few more reviews, and you'll keep doing that every now and again, just in other activities. I want to come back to you, Bill. Kate, that was awesome. Bill, you wrote 2 books, and obviously Kate's point was made first time through. What do you know? Nothing. Right? You pick up as many tips as you can. I love the YouTube University line. She said you hopefully were around other authors. Like, Bill, were you part of an author community as you're working on the first book? And what did you learn from book 1 that you then applied to book 2?
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually, I worked right up until the pandemic, and I got laid off. All the 6-figure senior executives, except for a CEO of a company I had been with for 6+ years, we all got let go. And they used the pandemic, of course, as an excuse, but I used it as my semi-retirement. And I had been planning on writing this first book, The Rookie CEO, for over 20 years. And I'm a chronological note taker. I take notes copiously in meetings, everywhere I go. And I used to make comments to myself about the meeting, and it could have been an email, it could have been a quick phone call. It didn't need to be a waste of, a lot of executives' time. in a meeting. And so I used to do that. And I finally, in 1998, I actually decided to write the book that published in 2020. So I joined the self-publishing school, which is Chandler Bolt's organization. It was early in their days, but I didn't know squat about publishing a book. Sure, I had read a couple of books. I didn't know much about self-publishing or traditional publishing. I just knew I was going to write a book. I had bought a couple of books over the years about publishing, but I decided to join him because I watched a YouTube video on their process, which is starts with a mind map before an outline. And by the end of a 45-minute Chandler Bolt video, I had a mind map and I knew what my book was going to look like. And I knew the message was, uh, as it turned out, the reason there's 9 CEOs in that first book, uh, when I went to write the book, I ended up when I went to write it was different than when I wanted to when I envisioned writing it. I worked for these 9 rookie CEOs in a row as their number 2. I was either a VP or a CXO. I was a CEO of one company. So at the end of the day, I had common patterns that first time CEOs lead by. Number one, first and foremost, they can't see what they can't see. And there are processes that they can put into place to build feedback mechanisms and feedback loops and create safe environments, which is more of a recent trend using the term create a safe environment so that people can talk to them one-on-one or in a group and not worry about losing their job. I was always very loud. So, you know, I tried to educate people on those kinds of things with my book.
I love it. And what year did you join self-publishing school?
So I joined them the week after I got laid off. So the first week in April of 2020, and I published my book in October of 2020. And
Yeah.
I followed the process to the T. I had a one-on-one book coach who's a best-selling author, multiple best-selling authors, Scott Allen. And I still go to his cohorts every week. I attend every week, and I have for many years because everything changes. For Amazon,
So,
I use Amazon ads, and things change all the time.
so what
Mhm.
I'm going to extrapolate from the conversation is that a book you started to dream about and work on in 1998 became a reality when you plugged into the right author community and had the right structures and supports in place. They were a very different organization when I signed up back in 2017, but I worked with his group as well for my
Okay.
first book. And I think as soon as you find the right fit and you get, whether it's a writing coach, developmental editor, a mentor who sits and holds your hand, you
Mhm.
learn about things like mind maps. It's a lot of like what you're talking about with these rookie CEOs. We can't see around the corner, so we need to meet people who've already been on this path, and they will point out the hazards ahead and maybe better pathways to take to avoid some of them. um Judi, when you decide to write a new book, how do you make
Yeah.
that decision? Because you're past the point of writing a book to prove that you can. You've had some wonderful
Well,
co-authors over the years. You
I
have,
have. I have.
yeah.
I'm
So
writing a new book right now.
yet again,
About I am about pricing because it's a deep, uh, dark. It's such a difficult topic because you can't tell anyone what to charge. You can't say charge this or charge that because you'll be price fixing.
right?
But you can tell them how to develop a quote and how to, and I have some cool stuff in there like how to recognize the shopper and
How do
how,
you decide, just to bring you back to the author topic,
okay.
how do you decide that it's time to write another book? Because it takes so much time. I mean,
Well,
Kate's
I
getting ready to do it
decided
again.
I decided that
Yeah,
I'm out in all these, I have rooms and classes and things like that, and
right.
it's what always comes up.
Got it.
It's the question that always comes up, and it's a question that is very difficult to answer. So I decided that I would try to answer it in a book that they could use. And I am, it's it's a very fine line when you write about pricing, because as I said,
Mhm.
you can't tell anybody what to charge, because that's a bad thing.
Well, what I want to take from that is that you are responding to a need
Yes.
from the community that you
Yes.
serve. And I
Yes.
want to just applaud you for that. I know
Thank
that
you.
you understand that, but so many authors, first time authors in particular, write because they feel compelled to write. They're
Mhm.
told they need a book in order to be successful.
Mhm.
It's like a wish list or a bucket list item, and they haven't tied it to there's a demand for this. People are asking this over and over again. And I
This
love
is
that you're like, apostille, you're like, I see this as a need. People could learn these
Mhm.
tips. That became a whole thing. This is about pricing. It's going to become a whole thing. All your books. I one other question for you on this
Sure.
topic, Judi. When you think about your co-authors, have you co-authored more than one book?
I've co-authored 2 books, and I've written by myself, and this one I'm doing myself.
How do you
Um,
decide that part? Like, how do you decide when to bring in a co-author versus lean
well,
into your own
well,
experience?
the tip book, Bill Soroka and I, we kind of we kept talking about it, and then we just decided we were going to do it. And none of you probably, I don't know if any of you know Bill Soroka, but that's why it went from 50 to 116 tips, because that's what we do. And
When you sit
we,
around talking together, yeah, you had
yeah,
more
and that's what
ideas?
we do. And so if we write another book together, which I have a great, I'm not saying it, but I have a great book for us to write together. It'll be the same thing. It'll be a lot more than um, what we start out with. But that's
Mhm,
Bill's personality. He is what you described, Dr. Kate. He is a mentor, and un I was unaware of how difficult it is to write a book. I just thought you write a book and then you go somewhere and you get it published. I was unaware of the launch and the whole thing. I was totally unaware of it, and lucky to have a great mentor who taught me a whole lot about it. It's a whole world.
Bill has been on this podcast multiple times. We'll
Yeah.
find the links to some of his earlier shows
Yeah.
and link them in the show notes because every time he comes on, he shares something of great value. So Bill
Mhm.
Soroka, um, great notary coach,
He is.
great business coach, generally. Bill Miller, I want to come back to you. Um, between books 1 and 2, how did the definition of success change? Right. So first book, often it's just about getting it published, holding it, maybe hitting #1 bestseller. But book 2, did something change about what you wanted the book to do for you that you didn't maybe have sights on, or did you develop a really strong sense of that for book 1 as well?
No, the first book, I didn't really build anything internally for marketing except for a lead magnet, which has helped me get clients. The second book, from day one, I built in the concept of um, I want to market services around the book. So actually, that rebranding, I published my second book the 1st of November. So I'm only a month ahead of with what every CEO must know for Dr. Kate. But um, I'm just about to, you know, launch my rebrand. I've got new websites and all new, you know, all new offers that are coming out that are built around the second book. In reality, I never started to think about a series, but the 2 books connect because the second book I reference the CEOs from the first book, and it is a continuation because I go into more detail. I talk about blind spots, and really the second book, think about Judi with the 116 tips. I started off the second book, again, built off the first book, to say, the top 77 mistakes that CEOs make.
Mm.
That was really my original title when I started. But then as I was interviewing the actual CEOs, and then I would write the chapter based on my interview with them, uh, it would be about 1,000 words. And I said, I'm not writing a 77,000 word nonfiction book. That's not going to sell anywhere. So I cut it back, and at one point I changed the title several times until I came up with what every CEO must know: 37 Secrets to Lead with Confidence and Power, and it's a much better title. And I cut it back down to 40 some odd thousand words. It's not
Yeah.
anywhere near 77,000, but the second book was written definitely with the purpose. I didn't follow, I mean, I followed the same process, but I didn't have a one-on-one coach. I didn't do any one-on-one coaching. I just, I go to many of the free uh, webinars and various things to get new ways to do things. I follow book launchers. I follow you. I follow the self-publishing team, and other people always try to sell me something. So I'll talk to them. But you're always learning something new. And the publishing industry, self-publishing industry especially, has changed so much since I published my first one in 2020 and the second one literally 5 years later. And it is a different experience. Now, what is interesting is the launch for the first book and the launch for the second book were identical.
Hmm.
The only thing is I got way more reviews for the first book than I did for the second book during the launch and even the first 6 months after the launch. And the only difference between the two is less advertising on Amazon. I think that
So
part of that is Amazon itself.
I want to also clarify there's the global ratings, and then you have to kind of click through to see how many written reviews,
Right.
because sometimes there's a vast difference between those numbers. Usually, I mean, I've often seen it be like 25, 30% or even less written reviews, which is why Dr. Kate, I was like, well done. Let me come over to Dr. Kate and talk about this, because you just heard them all talk about why they do books and why they make a decision to write another book. And the question I asked Bill was, what new success metrics do you have for a second book? And Kate, I think for a first-time author, and I'm glancing here, by the way, I want to call one other thing I'm seeing on your page. Kate didn't know she was going to get all this. Kate's like, so I never want to call anything negative on these shows. So I'm only going to say positive things. But so Kate's got the A+ content, which I just figured out for my fourth book. I have to say it was overly complicated in a way that it didn't have to be. And now that I understand what it is, it's not hard at all. But it was definitely one of those, like, I kept putting it off. I kept putting it off. I kept putting it off. And I'm like, okay, how do I do this? And I felt so proud. So I see you got A+ content. And I'm curious, it sounds like you're working on another book. What would you change about either your approach to writing the book or launching the book, or what you hope the book can do for your business between what you did for book one, which I think, you kind of hit a high bar there, and what you plan to do for book two?
Yeah. I think the launch for the second book, which isn't going to happen for, at least a year or two, it's in the ideation stage and is coming together really nicely. But still have some timeline ahead of me. So I'm actually going back to book one now to cook in some more lead gen opportunities. When Bill and I had live streamed a couple months ago, he got my wheels turning. And so my deadline for myself is our upcoming July flash sale. So it's all going to be ready then. So I have been working on the ecosystem around my book specifically. And so I've got my Kit account up and running. I've got my first tool ready for download, which I'm really excited about. It's a facilitator guide for leading a values exercise with your team. So it's this freebie that's like 8 pages, print it, and it's a whole workshop to do with your team. So I've got Kit up and running now and live, and I'm working with Score app to do some self-assessments, which again are going to feed into the ecosystem. Because my real mission is healthy workplaces, that there are plenty of places where people can be treated well and have a career that supports their health, doesn't get in the way of it. So yeah, I think for by the time I launch my next book, the ecosystem will exist. I will probably be even louder about it with countdowns and like early readings. Because I'm going to be so excited. Like, you know, I feel like really even until the last couple months, I didn't know I was an author. Like, I mean, I think I've always been this kind of thinker and speaker, but now that I have a book and people want to talk about it, it's awesome. Of like, I love running into people at, you know, at the grocery store, wherever, and they're like, "How's your book going?" I'm like, "Thank you for asking. Good. People keep buying it," and that's, you know, that's the win of seeing. And in particular now of like, because initial launch was mostly with my network, and now the book is starting to reach people that I haven't known or worked with yet. And so, you know, of a success metric, one of the reviews that's in there, or one in particular, I have no idea who that human is. And that hit me right in the heart. And like, if the book only helps that one person, great. It was worth it.
Organic reviews are amazing, but I will tell you, they don't happen if you don't already have reviews on your books page on Amazon. That is a possible byproduct of having a few dozen reviews, because books with reviews are just more likely to get another review from a reader who you don't already have a strong relationship with. And it's a human psychology thing. People want to pile on to a good thing, but if no one's doing anything, they're like, whatever, you know, they don't think to do it. So probably those reviews that they read helped them decide the book was worth it. So they want to add their 2 cents to the conversation. Amazing when that happens. Really thrilling. And I love that you got that experience. And I love that the ecosystem that you're building out for book 2 will have some time to be tested and matured as you're working on book 2. And so the outcome, I mean, you probably can't even imagine it yet, but like, it'll be based on all that work you're doing now. And a lot of first-time authors, just, it's hard to figure out how to build on a first book. I got a chance to do a deep dive interview one-on-one with Stacey Larson, who's a fellow author who's been on the Kindle Flash Sales, but she's been a coaching client and a launch client of mine. And when we did her launch, a lot of it was trying to tie her current offers to the book she was releasing, and realizing she had to like re-describe and name and like reformat some of them. And when it wasn't that, none of that's like super hard or super easy. It's just like a thing you have to do. And then it translated so well for her readers. So I think that's like a learning curve for a lot of authors, is trying to figure out how to make the book not be a separate entity, but really be integrated into a business. And Judi, I want to come over to you and talk about marketing a book in order to push the book out. Sometimes I think of it as how to sell more books, but it's also, forget dollars, like how do you get your books into the hands of the people who need it, whether you're giving them away,
It is
speaking. Yeah, what are you doing?
it is hard. It takes a lot of work. I wrote a 33-page little book called Jitters, because every notary in the country was calling me on the phone that I taught, and then they would say to me, "Oh, but now the phone rang and I don't know what to do." So I wrote this little book. It's called Jitters, and Jitters is $4.99 on Amazon. And I wrote it about, maybe, I'm going to say 3 years ago. They're still buying it. They're still buying it. They love this little book. And I always talk about it in my rooms, and when I speak, and you know, I do speak around the country, and I always talk about it, and I say, like, just buy Jitters and you'll be okay. And Jitters tells them when the phone rings, this is what you shouldn't do, and this is what you should do. So that's been a great marketing tool for me. That sent them into my other books, because when they see it, then they see other things that I've done. Most of it, I would say, for me, because I run a business, and I'm sometimes time is my enemy. So most of it for me has been um, going to places, talking, speaking, and talking about my books, and then sometimes I bring books with me and I give them away. And then they call me and they say, thanks for giving those 10 books away, but can we have 50? Or can we sell your books for you at our next meeting or whatever? I know that there's a lot more that could be done with it, but you really do need a lot of time.
Yeah, it's all
Mhm.
picking up what works well for you. So if you are speaking,
Hmm.
gifting a few books and then
Hmm.
seeing if they want to buy more. Like I used to, my first book was about networking at conferences. So I
Hmm.
said, if you pay my whatever my top rate
Hmm.
was, I will
Hmm.
include 50 copies.
Hmm.
And then if you want more, I offer a 20% discount off retail. Well,
Hmm.
everybody needed more than 50 because 50 was too many to just give away to 3 people who raised their
Hmm.
hand and
Hmm.
asked the question, but they not enough for everybody who came. So suddenly they're buying another 150. But I love the idea of having a book that is really just a very generous lead magnet that then introduces them to
Well,
you, all the other offers.
I just spoke at a conference in North Carolina, and I used the model of my new pricing book. And when I started to talk, I said, A, you're not allowed to take a picture. B, you're not allowed to take notes because none of this is etched in stone. But if you give me feedback, if you come find me and you give me feedback and you tell me if you liked it or what you thought was good about it or what you thought was missing, when I publish it, you will get a complimentary PDF. And I passed around a piece of paper. They all signed up for it. They all gave me feedback. And that was
That's your
good for
launch
me.
team. That's your
Uh,
launch
That
team.
was a lot. That was my launch team. I
So
mean,
now
they,
I want you to get them to sign up for your launch team via a Google form so
oh,
that
I
when the
will.
book is getting started, they're already in your system waiting
They're
to be
right.
alerted.
And
That's
they were happy to
very
do it,
clever.
and I said, but you can't take pictures of because they take pictures of the slides, and I
Mhm.
said, you can't take pictures of the slide because I have a lot of little Judy shtick in there, like, how do you recognize the shopper? Because the shopper for us is out there, and the shopper already read everything on AI, and now they know everything. So they just want to know what you're going to charge them and maybe what that they didn't find out. So we call it the shopper. So I didn't want everybody to go talk about the shopper because the book hasn't been published yet, but hopefully it will be in the fall. And I think it's going to
Awesome.
be a really good book.
That's awesome. Bill, let me
Mhm.
come over to you and talk about business goals. Kate was talking about how she's been building up her ecosystem around the book. Sounds like similarly, did you sort of fall into a whole nother career, Bill? Like, you had your career, you were no longer able to stay in that, job kind of job, and now here you are. You got multiple books, you got all these offers. It sounds like you've built
Yeah.
up a whole system.
Well, like I still had, I was in tech for my whole career. So 5.5 decades in tech, working my way up from software engineering to executive. But I speak annually at a conference in Florida. I give away 10 signed books to the first 10 people that see me after the event. I don't sell books there because they don't allow them. Uh, but people do go to my website, not to my website, but to Amazon and buy the book after that.
Mhm.
I'm on podcasts. I do a CEO Success Series webinar series for the Cloud Voice Alliance, where I'm a content advisor
Mhm.
for several years. So I interview CEOs there. A couple of those CEOs, 3 or 4 of them, have found their way into the second book because their stories were so good. So I have built an ecosystem over time. I don't know what Dr. Kate took from our last thing, but the first book, for some reason, I got something right. Uh, the lead magnet in there is 7 tips for first time CEOs, and it is definitely tied uh, to the book contours. So I use a lot of the terms and phrases, and I draw out some maps, kind of mind maps, if you will, but they're specifically for uh, what I call PPLC, or the Path to CEO, uh, the 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 philosophy they bring, the leadership style they bring, and how all those contribute to culture. And that is, it's a different way that anybody else has ever looked at the CEO role, which a lot of people, some people, their parents, their parents bred them to go there and wanted to go to Harvard or
Mhm.
Stanford or wherever, or Yale, and you guys are going to become a CEO, or you just become one.
Yeah.
Especially in today's AI world, where you can have a one-person company and make lots of money, but all your employees are agents. But
Whole new
yeah,
world that
this
we're in.
yeah, but so I have built kind of a following. I also have a commercial blog on a global site that's in the 1% website. You know, the web authority is 99%. So I get people coming back to me. That's why my website needs to be updated pretty soon. I'm almost there, but I have built all that, so that kind of helps. And I do have one client that's been with me from the first book. Uh, that's still there with me today. And he got that. I started working with him in early 22, and we're still working together. So it's hard to keep a client that long, but I have.
Bill, this is really great that I mean, you just listed a laundry list of things people are going to be putting on their own wish lists for what they want to have achieved in the first couple of years of running a business. As we're closing here, I'd love each of you to share some advice that you would give anyone who's writing a book, that their goal of writing the book is to help them grow their business. Judi, do you have a particular takeaway that you'd give someone who's writing a book to
I
grow a business?
I do. I think that stories sell books, and I think that you can you can be brilliant, and you can put all the facts in the book, and you can do all these wonderful things, and knowledge is certainly powerful, but there's nothing like a few good stories of what happened to me. And even if it's negative, even if it's like, I'm going to be transparent now and tell you I made the biggest blunder, and I got over it, but let me tell you what happened. Stories sell books, and all of us are capable. I'm certainly you two. I'm so honored to be with the two of you today, of knowing our craft, but people want to read stories. And if you can integrate that with what you're writing about, I think that you do a lot better.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go over to Kate. Kate, what would advice be that you'd share with someone?
My advice for anybody who's thinking about writing a book is do it. Don't just think about it. You actually have to put the time and energy into bringing it into the world. So if that means blocking time on your calendar, making a plan, working with a coach or a mentor, or even a friend who can be an accountability partner, it's not going to write itself. You have to put time and energy in. And second piece of advice is don't let perfectionism get in your way. When I was in my doctoral program, we used the phrase, the best dissertation is a done dissertation. And so that mantra for me, I've I really resonated with it often. And so as an author, your book is never going to be perfect. Honestly, it might never be all the way done. And that's okay. Share it with the world anyways. So get out of your own way, start putting time and energy into it, and know that perfection is a construct, not reality.
I love this. Bill, how about you? What kind of advice would you share with someone?
So I think everything that Judi and Dr. Kate says is 100% accurate. I would add that write your book for one person. One person. If you can change one person's life, you will change multiple people's lives. Because there is the mantra that's out there that says, if you write it for everybody, you write it for nobody. And that is true. One of the things that happened to me with the first book is I got my first 1-star review. And the person made comments that I totally disagreed with, but it just didn't resonate with that person. I have a thing in there about signature authority. Don't ever give signature authority to somebody else on your team. You're the CEO, especially in a startup, own it. And there's an experience that I have that I talk about actually in both books, a little bit more in depth in the second one, because it's a real learning experience. And it turns out that this client I just mentioned to you, multiple times investors have said they want to run the company. I'll give you the money. I'm going to run the company, not you. And in fact, when we first started, I'm going to get signature authority. He said, nope. My mentor said, no way. And it kills the deal because people want to take ownership of everything this guy's done and built. So, and that was one of the comments that this person made. So to me, it was a badge of honor to get a 1-star review. And I've got a couple of 1 and 2-star reviews. That book was not for everybody.
I
It
actually
really
think
isn't.
I want to tell you, Bill, sometimes a 1-star review helps sell the book because other people read the negative review because all the others are glowing. So they're like, all right, what did this person not like about it? And then the fact that you have ethics or the fact that you have good boundaries or the fact that you have good strategy or whatever it is, like that might be the reason they go, oh, you know what? I actually want to check this book out now. Like that pointed out to me that this is for me, or it'll point out that it isn't for them. And I'd much rather people don't buy the book if it's not for
Right.
them, because that's fine. Like you can go somewhere else and get this knowledge. Bill, how can people find you and follow your work?
So the easiest way to find me is you can do a search for Beeline Bill, which is my brand, but I have a link tree. So everybody knows how to use Linktree. It's slash Beeline Bill, BeeLineBill. And there's lots of me out there.
Fantastic. Hey, Judi, where can people find you and follow your work? Oh, sorry about that. 1 second. Let me fix that for you. Go ahead, Judi.
I have a website that's called the Lawrence Institute for Notaries,
Mhm.
and it will take you to lots of different places and you'll find out everything I'm doing.
Fantastic. And Kate, how can people find you and follow your work?
Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn, Dr. Kate Vawter. And if you would like a free download, you can visit betterbossblueprint.com/toolkit.
Better Boss Blueprint slash
betterbossblueprint.com/toolkit.
toolkit. All right, I'm making a note because, by the way, everyone, all these links plus their LinkedIn and some of them have YouTubes or Instagram, their book links, so you can go find their books, their website links. All the links are going to be in the show notes at bizbookpubhub.com, which is where you'll find over 500 archived episodes and all of their show notes and a directory of experts who will guide you through the author journey, writing, editing, launching, everything you need to do for your book. We have free virtual networking events every single month for authors and for speakers. We have our Kindle Flash Sale. So if you go to kindleflashsale.com, you can join the wait list for the next one. We host those 3 times a year. A super collaborative, global, supportive entrepreneurial community that comes together for this cross promotion effort. They're so much fun. And thank you to this panel for joining us for this conversation. It has been just lovely to hear about all your successes and the learnings you have along the way. Thank you so much, panel.
Thank you for doing this, Robbie.